On this journey in Australia's tropical North Queensland, we plan to kayak from Townsville to Cooktown. The journey is full of potential dangers such as unpredictable oceans, running out of food and water, and of course the notorious saltwater crocodile. In preparation for this journey, I've spent the last year out in the bush, brushing up on my hunting and gathering skills. And, most important to me, searching for wildlife in rugged and remote places, studying their behaviours and furthering my knowledge in the field. The main objective of this documentary is to push the message of conservation and appreciation of wild places and wildlife, and many beautiful and unique species will feature along this adventure. Here in the Daintree rainforest, where I spent much of the previous wet season, we pack and prepare. My young surfer mate, Harrison, has also signed up for the journey. All packed and ready, with our 17-foot expedition kayaks, which we've nicknamed Lipstick and the Croc, we cross the Daintree River ferry and drive the 6 hours south to Townsville, making sure to stop at a secret freshwater swimming spot before camping on the beach and hitting the ocean.
This is the northern beaches of Townsville, and that's Magnetic Island. And we're about to kayak several hundred kilometres north as the Croc flies. Watch out for the Croc, mate. Croc's Roger.
This map details the first leg of our journey. The SS City of Adelaide lies shipwrecked off the coast of Magnetic Island and provides a home for a family of white-bellied sea eagles. The island's large granite boulders support a population of allied rock wallabies. After spending a few days circumnavigating the island and field testing all of our gear, we camp on the beach before making our first long ocean crossing, the 20 kilometres to Herald Island. But, like this worn-out looking sea turtle, we stick to the shallows before pushing on further to Acheron Island. Although apparently no longer a military testing ground, we have heard stories of kayakers being fired upon unknowingly here. The next stop is Havana Island, accessed over the top of Tropical Reef. An osprey hunts in the shallows. We search for some food of our own and these oysters will remain an important food source to us for the entirety of the adventure.
Not much to him. That's good dynamite.
I also spot a great morinda, known for tasting bad and smelling worse, although harbouring medicinal qualities for consumption purposes of being called a starvation fruit and only eaten in times of need. Smelling of a mix of vomit and off cheese, they're also known by a different name.
This is a cheese fruit and it smells gross. It doesn't taste great either.
After spending several days on Havana Island, we plan to head for Northeast Bay on Palm Island, but are forced to pull up in the shallows. Harrison's rudder cable, which is used for steering and balance, is snapped. With the delay and some strong winds forecasted, we opt to camp on the beach and take the shortcut to Phantom Island. Between the late 1920s and early 1970s, Indigenous people were sent to Phantom Island for treatment of STIs and leprosy forcefully. A documentary released in 2011 named Phantom Island, which delves into the topic much deeper, is highly recommended for further information. It follows a former patient of 10 years returning to the island and talks about the historical background of racist policies of the Queensland government. Not much remains of the former institution. Erosion from tidal waters and years of neglect have caused the loss of several graves, and efforts are underway to acquire funding to preserve and protect this important place. Protected from the winds by the island and the current pushing in our favour, the paddle to the north of Orpheus Island is easy going. We take a look at the old shearers' quarters on the way to the top of the hill to check out the view and weather. Nestled in the safety of this bay, these yachts wait out the winds. On the doorstep to the World Heritage listed Hinchinbrook Island, the 5.76 kilometre long jetty at Lucinda is so long that the curvature of the earth had to be factored into its design. Its purpose is to ship the region's sugarcane throughout the world. man was taken from his boat by a crocodile near here, so we don't muck about on the landing. We stash our kayaks in the bush to hike the world-famous 32-kilometre Thorsburn Trail. Due to the presence of crocodiles, we wait for the tidal river to drop. Jungle perch dwell in the crystal clear freshwater streams, and after a few weeks in the salt, we happily join them. The views from the top of Zoe Falls are world class. Only made better by this natural infinity pool. Goannas roam the forest here, and we hang our food out of their reach. Frequenting the beach and the bush, these intelligent reptiles live a life many city folk would envy. At night, native rodents are the ones chasing our food, but they are also on the menu. Many predators keep an eye out for them, such as this jungle carpet python. Their ability to slither into hiding holes has the rodents permanently on edge. The views here at Nina Peak showcase Hinchinbrook's natural beauty. And the view from the ocean doesn't disappoint either. We camp on Gould Island and prepare for the journey through the Family Islands. Indigenous people have lived in this area for tens of thousands of years. Around 8,000 years ago, before sea levels began to rise, all of these islands were part of the mainland. The ocean we are kayaking over now was once known to them as Eastern Grey Kangaroo Country. Where rivers once flowed upon the coastal plain, they now flow under the seabed, and traditional knowledge still tells of stories of places fresh water can be found welling up into the seawater. A black-tip reef shark patrols the shallows as we arrive at Dunk Island. Planning to stay for 4 or 5 days, we pull our kayaks up above the high tide line. During World War II, this area operated as a radar station to monitor the threat of Japanese invasion and gives a good look at the Family Islands and Hinchinbrook. Orange-footed scrub fowls scratch in the sand. Reptiles bask in sunny gaps in the rainforest canopy. And a golden orb spider nets a fly. This strangely proportioned cherubim sifts through the leaf litter. On the way to the next island chain, the Barnards, we pull up at Clump Point. A white-bellied sea eagle surveys the same scene as us. Arriving at the Barnards, we look out to the mountain range that extends up to the Atherton Tablelands. A place where vibrant blue Ulysses butterflies flutter through the canopy. And while looking up, you can also see a kangaroo. A Lumholtz tree kangaroo. One of only 2 species of tree kangaroo in Australia, these oddballs are able to walk, hop and jump, which suits their arboreal lifestyle. Using its long tail for balance and agile hands, this tree kangaroo reaches for the furthest leaves on the branch, but weighing in at around 7 kilograms, wisely decides against it. These tree kangaroos eat mainly leaves, but habitat destruction is their biggest threat, and fragmented forests leave them vulnerable to car strikes when searching for new feeding grounds. On the forest floor, a predator lurks. Australia's largest snake, the amethystine python, grows to around 5 metres long, with reports of individuals exceeding 7 metres. Safe in the canopy, all this tree kangaroo is worried about is the swarm of biting insects. And, much like its ground-dwelling cousins, it hops on over to where the leaves are greener. A variety of exquisitely coloured creatures blend into the green mass, and insects scream a relentless chorus. A blue-faced common tree snake searches for sunny gaps in the undergrowth. And blue-faced parrotfinches devour seeds in the forest clearings. At night, fireflies light up the sky. But masters of camouflage also dwell in the dark. The northern leaf-tailed gecko, almost indistinguishable from the tree trunk it hides on, hunts insects. And the white-lipped green tree frogs blend seamlessly within green foliage, although they are not always the best at discretion. The loud call is heard by the skilled nocturnal hunter, the lesser sooty owl. After several days exploring the Barnard and Kent Island groups, we look forward to arriving at Eddy Bay, home to one of North Queensland's most famous residents. The beach here at Eddy Bay is regularly visited by the creature in which the whole region is named after. The cassowary coast is home to the most dangerous bird on Earth, the southern cassowary. Equipped with many unique features such as their horn-like casque, their vivid head and neck colours, and dinosaur-like feet. Perhaps the most unique of all being the two red wattles hanging from their neck. This one looks a little bit confused about them too. The young are raised by their fathers. Male birds weigh in at an average of 34 kilograms and are much smaller than females, who clock in at 1.8 metres tall and 58 kilograms. This subadult feeds on black palm fruits. Cassowaries play a crucial role in the health of the rainforest. A vast selection of plants rely on them for seed dispersal. But cassowaries are endangered throughout their Australian range, and deforestation pushes them closer to human habitation, exposing them to car strikes, dog attacks, and dependency on human waste. We kayak past Ella Bay, the site of a proposed billion-dollar real estate development, and push on to a true gem of the north, the Franklin Island group, where we plan to spend a week. Passing over the top of a healthy coral reef, the long paddle has us eager to have a lazy afternoon on the beach, like this noddy. After a month or so on the journey, some of our gear starts to fail. Nothing that some tape can't fix. Several days into the stay, we begin to run low on supplies and head into the mangroves to find some food. A kingfisher keeps a close eye on us, and golden orchids bloom. Mud mussels. While exploring the mangroves, you can find many natural treasures like this shedded turtle shell skin and this nautilus shell, a creature from the same family as squid and octopus. Tidal mangroves and creeks are also crocodile habitat, and it is a wise move not to forget it. The best way to find mud mussels is with your feet. Nearby coconut trees host the perfect remedy for hot and humid work. Cooked in a similar way on the coals, mud mussels have been an important food source for Indigenous people for thousands of years. Perched up on some nearby warm rocks, a massive lump of carpet python soaks in some rays.
pretty big old steaks, man.
Later on in the day, we find them huddled up together again. Time for our daily snorkel. An array of colourful life in many forms coexist within the sheltered fringing reef of the Franklin Islands. Painted crayfish for dinner is a welcome addition to our meagre food supplies. Even though the reef blankets 2,300 kilometres of Queensland's coast, it is important to take only what you need.
That's dinner, mate.
Running low on water too, we drink from a natural stream. And as the sun goes down, we eat our fill before preparing to move on. A week of strong 40-knot plus winds are approaching. So we decide to head for High Island.
You threw it on film, eh? How does that one feel? Good, real good.
We make a driftwood crocodile to scare sailors. And the next day, hug the coast on the 40-kilometre journey to Fitzroy Island. Just in time to beat the wind. Nearing the end of the bad weather, we have a rough crossing to Yarrabah, just south of Cairns on the mainland, and find some pandanus fruit.
Little bush passion fruits. Not quite ripe, Oh wait, that one's not ripe at all. Let's try this one. That's too small. They're not a native species, but for the meantime, I'm glad that they're here. Whoa.
The next day we kayak past the city of Cairns, planning to camp on Double Island off the coast of Palm Cove. We watched the dive boat I worked on briefly a few years back head out to the reef. After being chased off Double Island by dogs, we settled for the mainland only a few hundred metres away, only to find out the hard way that this is the only nudist beach in the region. We move on to Port Douglas and witness a perfect sunrise.
Hi, Captain Redbeard here with me trusty first mate, Crocbait. And we're just halfway through the crossing from Port Douglas to Snapper Island. And to the west of us, roughly, is the Daintree River mouth, somewhere over there. Home to some notoriously large and violent mud skippers. aka saltwater crocodiles, and we don't really have to worry about them too much, other than the fact that fishermen have a habit of feeding them, so they get intrigued and come looking for scraps, which means when in croc country, always plan ahead and bring with you some fresh meat, such as that. And also we're on the lookout for pirates, because my parrot that I usually rock on my shoulder was swiped by budgie smugglers. And that's about all I've got to say for now.
Growing well over 5 metres long with the strongest bite force on Earth, the massive jaws and bony armoured plates of this large male crocodile's back are enough to send shivers down the spine of a sea kayaker. Saltwater crocodiles, for the most part, stick to river systems but regularly travel through open ocean and can live on beaches and remote islands. With little protection in our kayaks, no part of our journey is 100% safe, but researching and understanding the environment and creatures within it as best as possible is absolutely crucial for safety and survival. Crocodiles should be treated with respect, are an important part of the ecosystem, and don't deserve to be persecuted for acting the way they have for millions of years. Harrison and I know the risks, and if you go near the water in croc country, you should too. And if you get chomped, it's your fault, not the crocs. Here on Snapper Island, some useful plants spark interest, such as this matchbox bean, used by early settlers for keeping matches dry. And this beach Barringtonia, resembling a square coconut that's innards have been used as a fish poison. On a hot day, this bat cave is a welcome relief from the sun. But we don't stay long in order to give the bats some peace. Pied imperial pigeons feed on fruit and flock to offshore islands from mainland predators to nest and roost each night. As the sun goes down, they can be seen flying out over the ocean to the islands. Here off the coast of the World Heritage listed Daintree rainforest, we rest up to visit some friends on the mainland the next day.
It's yours. Alright. And this looks like a minimus. Trying to put me to death.
Tony and his partner Cheryl have been rehabilitating wildlife, in particular spectacled and little red flying foxes, in the region for over 20 years. These large fruit bats are endangered, and their loss would spark serious repercussions to the rainforest as a whole due to the pivotal role that they play in pollination and seed dispersal. In the wild, spectacled flying foxes form large groups and daytime roost and have close social bonds. These two, named Demi and Silky, are best mates. Their lazy afternoon is disturbed by the sound of the generator. To relieve themselves, they hang upside down or right side up, depending on who you ask. Endlessly curious and intelligent creatures, they are always keen to inspect new things in their surroundings.
Let's put you in your room, which is this one here. You go up in there, that's good. Your bucket will be coming shortly. You go in that room. Go on. Go on. No, you go in that room. That's it. That's your dining room. Your food will be up soon. Yours will be along very shortly. Everybody else seems to be in place. Even you, yes, even you, you're in place.
Chopped to bat bite-sized pieces to prevent wastage, they are fed an array of fruit. Demi is kept separate at feeding time due to her bad habit of stealing food. These cages are more to keep predators out than to keep the bats in.
Yeah, she's got puncture wounds in the roof of her mouth. She was rescued from a barbed wire fence, where obviously she was biting the barbs to try and get out, and it's punctured the roof of her mouth, which essentially means that in the wild she would certainly die, because she wouldn't be able to get the food that she could just sort of spit out. Because what happens is when she pushes, because the way fruit bats eat is they push the food against the roof of their mouth until they extract all the juices, and then they spit out the fibre. But because she's got a hole, or at least two holes in the roof of her mouth, she'd just be pushing that food into her nasal passage, which is worked out that by going basically snorting She gets rid of any fluids, and she doesn't get any solids into her nasal passage anymore. But with other damage that she got from her wing, because when she was rescued from the barbed wire, the very caring member of the public who rescues her got a pair of cutters out and cut her wing off to undo her from the barbed wire, because the person didn't want to damage the farmer's barbed wire fence. I won't say any more about that. I was going to say, after I first started with the bats, the next thing I got involved with was doing the census on them. When the season was on and the fruit bats were flying out from the centre of Cairns, you were told to count. You sort of go 100, 200, 300, 400. 10 years later, you were going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that was just in 10 years. And when you think that loss to the forest of pollination and the loss of seed dispersing for the forest is horrendous. Right? Just because the animals that normally do it are just not here anymore.
Around 1/3 of the population of spectacled flying foxes were wiped out by a heat wave in 2018 and 19. Every day they are driven closer to extinction. At night, we're visited by a bandicoot. Bandicoots play an important role of turning over earth on the forest floor while foraging for food. We also get another visitor, this one unwelcome.
Just trying not to get bit. They usually don't bite that much, but just going to throw them in this bucket and we'll release him up the road.
An amethystine python. One of the main predators of flying foxes, they must be removed from the bat sanctuary. Even the smell of the snake is enough for the perceptive bats to live their life in fear. Keeping a close eye on us and all the other activities in the rainforest is the observant rufous owl. A chameleon gecko sits motionless, and a net casting spider waits for its prey to come to it. A huntsman spider, much larger than its usual prey, approaches. Waiting for the right moment, it prepares to strike. And a battle of brawn versus agility begins. A hungry pink-tongued skink, stirred up by the commotion, is quick to respond. The battle ensuing, out of reach, the lizard goes off to find another feed. All of the action intrigues a striped possum. Trying to pin the front legs of the huntsman back, it looks like the net casting spider has the upper hand. But the superior strength of the huntsman gives it a fighting chance. The huntsman strikes a critical blow and the net casting spider retreats. With one last mighty pull, the huntsman escapes victorious. With the show over, the rufous owl takes off to find a feed of its own, sending the striped possum into a fleeing panic. But the only creature eating tonight is this brown tree snake. The next morning at the Bat Sanctuary, we sit down with Cheryl, who's just finished writing a new book, Phytochemistry of Australia's Tropical Rainforests.
You can't tell my dress apart from it, it's not the right colour. This actually shows you where the ancient rainforest boundaries are. And it shows its stability over time in the dark areas is that dark green. And it's not much.
Yeah.
It's really, really not much. And, you know, and the vegetation areas of conservation concern that are red, that are high, we're looking at daintree.
A great teacher of mine, often on my time off from volunteering here, I would head out to the bush all day and return with various rainforest fruits that Cheryl would help me to identify.
Well, you've got some black palm seeds there, and that's porcelain fruit.
Yeah.
Apparently it tastes like sand. And that looks like it's one of the beans, but I'm not sure which one. They're a bit hard for me to tell, but these haven't got much of a seed in them. There's usually not much. See, there's not much in there.
Yeah.
But sand they are. And the cassowary is like this. This is one of their staple foods when there's not much around. But it just goes through them. They can't get a lot of flesh off that. Oh, here comes a cassowary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just popping in to say hello. You can't see it. It's like amazing for such a big bird. She blends in so well. I called her Mary because she sails through the forest and it's her forest. She's queen. Yeah, see, she knows she's perfectly protected because the humans are in the cage.
The immense diversity of Australia's tropical rainforests is hard to wrap your head around. Here, Cheryl gives an example of her book.
That's one of our really rare species up here, and that's the yellow walnut. Aboriginal people were experts in processing a lot of toxic plants as well, and that's another really, really interesting aspect of things. And I go into it a bit in this book, and I also go into it in one of my other books. Well, the motivation for writing this was basically I couldn't find the information about the chemistry of our plants to actually explain what their potential was. There wasn't anything that was accessible.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff in research papers, but it was mostly overseas. So to try and tie in the overseas biochemistry of plants and find comparisons within the Australian flora, so that you could sort of, even on a chemical basis, just try and figure out what we've got and what we haven't got. That was the challenge.
Yeah.
With one of the highest rates of deforestation of any country known on Earth, and relatively little known about Australian plants and their medicinal and practical properties, I ponder what we may have lost before we even know it's gone. Deep in the rainforest, I spot some minor walking stick palm fruits. Chewed and spit out whilst travelling, these plants can serve as a way to highlight ancient walking trails. A brown tree snake decides it doesn't like the look of me and takes off. A massive stick insect mistakes me for a tree. Back down at the coast, I come across my favourite native edible fruit, which sort of resembles the taste of a lychee.
Lollyberries. Tastes good. Sick. Peel it open. Chew on the seed, on the fruit, and spit the seed out.
Moving on, we see a side of the daintree most never get the chance to. The mountainous terrain hosts 180 million year old rainforest. On our way to Cape Tribulation, we cautiously pull up at Thornton Beach. A woman was killed by a croc here a couple of years ago. With increasing winds, the journey gets rough and the landing bumpy. a sunbird feeds on nectar. And peppermint stick insects hide away in their pandanus homes, named after the chemical that they spray into the eyes of potential attackers as a deterrent that smells like peppermint. Crystal clear, croc-free creeks harbour jungle perch and eeltail catfish. These sandy patches are coral reefs and cays.
What do you reckon?
We move on to Cedar Bay and are forced to make a decision. With a week of rough weather approaching, we can spend it on the exposed East Hope Island or push on to the end of the adventure at Cooktown. After throwing some coconuts into the pumice rock covered creek and having a rock skimming competition, we decide to head for Cooktown. Pounded by increasingly worsening seas, we rejoice at arrival on Rocky Island. Sea turtles take shelter on the protected side of the island. We share this sandy spit with a lonely coconut tree. And the next day, go for the last paddle of the journey, the trip to the mouth of the Endeavour River. Here in 1770, Captain James Cook and his crew on the ship Endeavour pulled in to fix the damage after striking a reef. Whilst repairing the ship, they encountered tense relations with local Indigenous people.
Yeah, we'll be able to get to that. Yeah.
Coming into land, a salty scream must be forgiven. 2 months and around 600 kilometres of kayaking have us salty to the core. We could have done this journey in half the time, but what would be the point in rushing?
Well, that's that.
As I catch the bus to pick up my car from the bat sanctuary, Harrison checks out the town. We are by no means the first weary adventurers to arrive at Cooktown, nor will we be the last.
Alright, that's Kayaking in Croc Country Volume 1 complete. Townsville to Cooktown. Peace out, reptiles. Catch me where you're not next time.